this pushed out real quick. Share this with a couple of people. Hold on. 1 second, please. You know the routine. Gotta make sure we're sharing, make sure people can see us, join the conversation. Cause yeah, I wanna talk. Let's talk some football, especially after that crazy week one. That week one was nice, if you will. Crap. Hold on. I think I messed up. Search. No, tweet. Paste that. NFL. Oh, nope. NFL. Yes. There we go. NFL. Gotta make sure. If you ain't following me on Twitter yet, definitely, definitely go follow me on Twitter, cause your boy be on there quite a bit. Oh, at least I'm getting better at it, anyways. At first, I was kind of trash with it, but it's getting better. Uh, what? Hold on. I think I'm missing a tweet or hashtag. I don't want to say a tweet. Okay. All right. Last one. Last one. For real. For real. Okay. I don't know what the hell that was supposed to be. Football is boom back. Oh, one more. One more. I lied. Excuse me. There we go. And try that. See what happens. I don't know. Could be good. Could be bad. Let's hope for the best. Boom. All right. So, welcome to Footballology. Go ahead and push that out. Let people know we're alive. And we're gonna talk it up. We're gonna talk a little bit. Hey, what up, Chris? Yeah, the chat is live. Sorry, I have it pulled up on my phone, but yeah, the chat is live, so I can see any questions or thoughts you might have right out of the gate. Um, but yeah, welcome. Glad to have everyone here. It's been real. It's been week one was very interesting. Um, I think the first and foremost noticeable thing for me was the lack of no fans. Turn that beast down. The lack of no fans. That was probably the first thing I noticed, just for the simple fact that I personally believe like every game this year is gonna feel like a preseason game until we're allowed to have. I appreciate it. Yeah. But yeah, I think every game this year is definitely gonna feel like a preseason game until we're allowed to have, I would say, 75% plus fan capacity, just for the simple fact that that quiet, that ambient noise that they were pumping into the stadiums was just kind of I didn't really feel it. Didn't really sound right. Just sound like it was just, hey, here's some relaxing, peaceful noise in the background while you enjoy football. And so definitely every game that I watched this weekend, I mean majority of the games, you kind of eventually got over the idea, but it didn't feel like we had that preseason to warm ourselves up. Like, and the players obviously feel this way. The players need that preseason to kind of warm themselves up. Same thing as a fan. So it's like, oh wow, we lost. It's only preseason. And so as a fan, you understand you have 4 weeks of, oh wow, we lost. It's only preseason. Oh wow, we dominated that team. Let's wait. It's preseason. And so you kind of get yourself this emotional roller coaster for 4 weeks, and then so once you go on this emotional roller coaster for 4 weeks, you start to feel like, okay, week one hits, and you're like, I'm ready 100%. But something I said in my last video I just put out was that having the fans in the stadium as a fan watching the game, you didn't realize how much that connection was. That celebration, like obviously the fans in the in the stadium are celebrating and everything, but when you have a live stadium like the New Orleans Saints does, or with the Superdome, or like the Chiefs do, or like Seattle does, when you have those live stadiums like that, that energy, it does feed you as a fan at home. You could feel it. You could feel the ahs, the oohs, the excitement. And so, not having fans in the stadium, like I said, that's the first and noticeable obvious thing for week one that was just too bad, too weird, too much. Honestly, I personally, hopefully, that we have an opportunity to have fans sooner than later. Um, week three is right around the obviously right around the corner. It's next week, but that Monday night Baltimore versus Chiefs, like I keep talking about it, but I really wish that was a game where they were just like, you know what, the fan restriction stuff. We just forget that crap. So real quick, we're gonna recap last week's schedule. Okay, if my computer stops acting crazy, try this one more time. Let's see. We go. There we go. I think I was hitting exit for some reason. I don't know why. All right, so week one recap. Let's get into it. Week one, Thursday night kickoff. We seen Chiefs versus Texans. I don't want to talk about it too much because obviously I'm a Chiefs fan, so I don't want to seem too biased with the idea. But one thing we noticed, if anything, was that uh, Texans still don't have an identity on offense. I think that's true, and I told a lot of people um, with that game and with the Chiefs doing what they did, it made sense. That was something that the Chiefs are going to have over people not having training camps. Was that when you have that consistent continuity of your defense and your offense coming back from the previous season and having that many bodies that know the playbook, coaching staff, no dramatic or real changes to your team, you're gonna have a leg up on your opponent automatically, especially not having a training camp or a preseason. So that was the first noticeable obvious is that the Chiefs are just oiled machine already, right? And so with the Houston Texans, we had the Houston Texans where they were still trying to find their identity. I think offensively, defensively, I think they know what they're going to be, but they just not that quality. They don't have another pass rusher, and I said that in one of my live streams. I think the live stream last week is that I wasn't scared of them as far as the pass rush goes. And they're JJ Watt's there, yeah, Willie Merciless there, but they don't have a true, I think, dominant pass rusher anymore. And JJ Watt is nice. I mean, he's gonna do his work, but he's gonna get double teamed so much to the point where he kind of gets washed out. They need to go out and they needed Unique Ngakwe. They needed him. They would have picked him up. I think that would have balanced their defensive line out a little bit more and made things a little bit more interesting for them. But they didn't go that route, so they messed up. And like I said, that's the noticeable obvious in that game. It's just the Texans still looking for an identity on offense. Do we want to run through David Johnson as Deshaun Watson, our starting quarterback, that we're just going to throw the ball 35 plus times with him? There's just so many questions. And little be said, did you hit the waiver wire up? Benny Snell, Dallas Goddard. Yeah. So when it comes to that, so when it comes to the waiver wire this week, in all my leagues, those guys that you just named, everybody legitimately scooped up every single last one of them, if not more. Like, um, people are like chomping at the bit to get these guys on the roster. I think the biggest one that surprised me was it kind of pissed me off. Kind of pissed myself off with this because it's like I wasn't doing my research, and this is a guy that could easily went no problem late. Was Darius Slayton? I think I was so fixated on some of the younger guys coming out. But when Darius Slayton came out Monday night and did what he did, I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck happened to Darius Slayton, and why wasn't he on my roster or anybody's roster for that matter? I think a lot of people were probably more mad about that than anything. Darius Slayton, it's crazy because on a Giants roster that doesn't have much talent anymore, it's crazy that he went undrafted in a lot of cases, and it's crazy that he was a guy that nobody messed with. And Dallas Goddard, I think, was a surprise kind of thing. And then listening to the podcast, listening to the telecast, or listening to some stories and stuff, and talking about everybody saying that Zach Ertz and Howie Roseman, I think it was, they got into some beef. So it kind of interested, it made me interested there. Like, is Zach Ertz on the move? So it takes a guy like Dallas Goddard and thrusts them up a little bit more. Uh, it thrusts Dallas Goddard up a little bit more now. It makes him more a viable starter. So that was crazy. Like I said, Darius Slayton and Dallas Goddard too. That I was like, wow. Benny Snell, I was kind of like hip to already, so I was like, ah. Eventually, I just didn't think it was going to be week one, but I thought eventually for sure he was going to get a good good share, a fair share of the carry of the rocks. Paris Campbell, I was high on. I actually told a guy I work with to hop on the Paris Campbell train sooner than later. I feel like having a guy like Philip Rivers is definitely going to accentuate. That's the word I'm looking for. What Paris Campbell does best, and that's to be a deep ball, small guy. And I think that's what we've seen there. Um, not touching the Rams backfield. Cam Akers. So I don't know. We'll get into that. We'll get into Cam Akers in a little bit. But so moving on to some other games. Um, the one game that I also seen that was really interesting was the Vikings versus the Packers. The Vikings defense definitely was exactly what I thought it was going to be. When you get rid of what I think I think they got rid of all three of their starters from last year, or at least two. I know they got rid of Trey and they got rid of Xavier. So when you do that, you automatically open up the floodgates to whatever at that point, and you do nothing to seriously replace them. I mean, don't get me wrong. Well, maybe if Daniel Hunter was back and you had Unique Ngakwe and that D line was actually being able to get a solid push up the field, maybe we don't see your secondary gets exposed so much. But that that going against Aaron Rodgers, that is exactly what I expected from that Minnesota secondary. It's not enough. They need a corner. They're so it's so comical at this point now because when you really look at the landscape of the league, there's no corners that are out there willing to be traded or people were traded. I think it was like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, we seen corners at premium corners, if you will, moving like nothing. We seen Marcus Peters move from here to Kansas City. We seen Aqib Talib move from Denver at the time when he was really at the height of his career. Then we seen Jalen Ramsey get moved. We've seen corners consistently get moved, and good corners, or at least at the top of the echelon of corners, right? Like I'm not gonna say top 10, but definitely at the top of the pack of corners. We definitely seen a lot of those guys get moved, and so okay, and so like when you see all those players start to get moved and pieces get moved like that, it start to make you think that, oh wow, now all the corners are locked up. I think for the most part, like just real quick over the court, just glancing over my mind, anything that could pop up. There's not a lot of corners that will be out there on the market now because the teams that have corners that you would think would be moved, they need to keep them because they don't want to find themselves in a bad situation either. And it's crazy. The Vikings are in trouble. Just that's get off topic a little bit, but the Vikings are in trouble as far as their secondary goes. They're gonna have to live through their front four and live through their pass rush on defense. Offensively, you need another. The best way this offense is gonna work is when you have a balanced field as far as the aerial attack goes. Not having a Diggs there really tilt the field towards Thielen and really hurt Kirk Cousins. Because then it's at this point like defense is like we're just gonna take away Kurt and force you to beat us with somebody, or we're gonna take away Thielen and force you to beat us with somebody else. Got to get Dalvin Cook going again. I think realistically, it's just chemistry on the offensive line and little small nuggets. Like I said, right, it felt like a preseason game because when you have offenses like the Minnesota Vikings, a little bit more continuity on offense, it felt like they were still out of sync because losing that piece in Stephon Diggs really kind of set them back a little bit and really hurt them. I personally feel like it did, anyways. Yes, I think the Vikings are going to finish. Oh, last in their division though. Uh, I don't know. They still got Detroit. I mean, Detroit can still Detroit can still find a way to kind of you know bumble it up a little bit. It's just funny. Like I don't know. That's gonna be interesting though. That North is gonna be competitive. If Trubisky can look like anything he did when him and Detroit played, on a consistent basis though, like don't wait to the back half of the game like, hey, look what I can do. And like it was almost to the point where like somebody said, hey Trubisky, if you lose this, Nick Foles is taking your job, right? And so all of a sudden he's like, oh no, we can't have that. And then he just came out and started firing like crazy, like a madman. Um, so like that's funny. If Trubisky could stay that level of consistency, it would be interesting. Washington top of the division, yeah. That I think I said on one of my live streams a while ago. that Washington defense is going to be vicious and nasty, and it was exactly that. But granted, I think the biggest asterisk mark that we take from that as well was that we're talking about one of the most banged up offensive lines in the league. And I personally, even when Philly won their Super Bowl, I always felt like their offensive line was shaky. Now Lane Johnson, don't get me wrong, is probably top three right tackle in the league, but outside of that, I don't feel like they never had guards. Their center in Kelsey is obviously nice, but I don't feel like their guards were always up to par. I never feel like their um, is my stream just randomly cutting out now? That's weird. Okay. But I felt like their guards wasn't up to par, or their tackle, or like their tackles were decent. Guards wasn't up to par, and then their center was Kelsey, so that can go either one way or the other. But I felt like the offensive line was always shaky, and what Sunday showed me is that they need more help than they thought they did. Why does my stream keep doing this? Is it just like loading in and loading out? What is going on? That is bugging my brain. Hold on. I'll reset this thing. Um, so like it definitely showed me that if anything, it's just that they need offensive line help, and I think they knew that going into this anyways. They knew that going into this that they needed offensive line help, and that they were going to do whatever it took to actually make sure that there we go. Okay. But they were going to do whatever it took to try to protect Carson Wentz, but they didn't do a good job. When you have a front four like Washington have with Devon Payne and Jonathan Allen and Ryan Kerrigan and Chase Young. I was going to say Chase Claypool for some reason, and Chase Young. It's bound to happen. And then shit, who's their defensive coordinator? I feel like I know who their defense coordinator is now, and I can't remember who his name is, and that bugs me. But they were just firing, bro. They were just firing at Carson Wentz consistently. If any, like most of the highlights out of that game was Carson Wentz laying on his back, and that's not a quality highlight if you're a Phillies fan, and that's a damn good quality highlight if you're a Washington fan. And then I think Washington's offense was exactly what I thought it would be: inconsistent, up and down, not really reliable, and that's not their fault. It's not like they got, like they're shitty or something like that. It's just the simple fact they got a little bit lack of talent there. And they still got to find a way to make what they have work for them. And a lot of times that's all you need. You just need to find out how to make what you have work for yourself. What do you think of the Seahawks? I think it's still sus. Like if we're being completely 100% honest right now, I think it's still suspect because now, granted, they may have let up the pedal a little bit in that game, but you're going against. I personally feel like going against one of the most inconsistent offenses in the league that look like there should be more high power than what they are. Um, I think we're going to see more this week. Let me see, who do they play this week? Um, because I think I just heard it. Is it Patriots? Yeah, it's the Patriots. Oh, Sunday night exactly. So what we're going to wind up seeing this week is that Um, what is this defense going to be able to do week to week basis? Especially now that you have a quarterback that's going to be more likely to run. Now it's going to really what can this defense do when it starts to get flown left and right? Whereas really when you play Atlanta, it kind of just like it's a one trick pony. But I would say Seattle's offense is, I think it's primed really well, but it's mainly because of Russell Wilson. But I want to see more from the Seahawk defense before I buy any stock, I guess you could say. I want to see if he can put up the same game again. Um, and that's just to say as well, the Patriots offense, it looked very stagnant. You managed 21 points on the Dolphins last week, and that's with Cam Newton and having all those weapons, not weapons, I guess you could say, having all those backs because I feel like they got more backs than they got receivers. But having all those guys out there, I feel like their offense just didn't do what I expected it to do. And I don't know if that's once again lack of preseason, lack of consistency, lack of continuity, chemistry, all those things. So that might be a big chunk, a big portion of it. So I want to see one more week from the Seattle defense, and then once I see that, then I'll be on board for sure. Yeah, honestly, I mean, if he did what he did against Atlanta, once again, Atlanta defense, hardcore suspect. Atlanta has not had an identity on defense since week one last year. And so to say that, Russell Wilson torched them, that's a good thing. Now, to your point, if Russell Wilson does, I'm not going to say torch, But if Russell Wilson put up a quality stat line, maybe give him an interception in there because it's just the Patriots. But if he does, even if he doesn't throw an interception, he throws like 3 touchdowns, maybe for like 250 in the air, maybe another 50 or 60 on the ground mysteriously. If he gets something like that off on the Patriots offense, you got to start considering him. But then on the flip side, we got guys like Kyler Murray running for 100 yards on a Niners defense that clearly was like a force to be reckoned with last year. And then we have Lamar Jackson picking up where he left off. Granted, it was against the Browns, but Lamar Jackson looking like he was good. I think if Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and you can even pick Kyler Murray in the conversation, if all those guys stay healthy for the whole entire season or the entirety of its season, it's going to be damn near impossible for those decision makers that say this guy won the MVP. Whoever, if those four guys are healthy, whoever wins the MVP this year, I think will probably be the most. I think the most talked about MVP in NFL history because when you got quarterbacks that can do what Lamar and Kyler Murray can do, and then even Russell Wilson from a run standpoint, but then you got a quarterback like Pat Mahomes that can pitch 6 touchdowns, 400 yards on somebody's head. I mean, Russell Wilson can do the same thing as well. So whoever makes the decision for MVP this year, and those four guys are rolling, I'm sorry, I feel sorry for that person because your hair, like you're gonna be up at night, like, but he did this, but he did beat them, and he lost to them, and so it's like you're gonna try to nitpick every game. I think if you're looking to win the MVP this year, you got to be damn near flawless in every game this year just for the simple fact that you're going to have guys like Kyler Murray, or you're going to have Lamar Jackson, or you're going to have Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson doing things. And then I don't know who the dark horse is at this point, but I mean, we can even make a case for. I'm trying to think who actually had a really good week that you can just say this guy might mysteriously, pop in somewhere. All right, let's say dark horse Mr. Trubisky. Just that. I mean, that's like he did decent towards the end of the game. I think as long as Mr. Trubisky thinks that Nick Foles is going to take a job with every passing interception, I feel like Trubisky is going to turn it on. Like it's Trubisky is Alex Smith and Nick Foles is Pat Mahomes at this point. It's to the point where Trubisky is like, I'm not losing my job, and it's like I'm gonna start pushing the ball down the field and doing these little things. So I mean, anything is possible with the way, like I said, I think the first couple of weeks of this year is going to be really interesting. uh, but I think the first couple of games is going to be interesting this year. Yeah, no, and that's what I said. Yeah, the Trubisky thing is definitely a reach, but I'm just saying as a dark horse and seeing who played well this weekend. Um, I would say Trubisky as being a quarterback, you always pick quarterbacks over everybody else. And Trubisky being a quarterback, you definitely gotta say, oh, maybe Trubisky, like maybe. It probably won't happen, but god damn it, if he won an MVP, whoo, the Bears are like, we told y'all. uh, so with the Colts situation, I have never been a Marlon Mack fan. Never, not one time have I been a Marlon Mack fan. And watching what they did against the Jaguars, Naeem Hines, I think surprised me the most. So yeah, Naeem Hines surprised me the most, and with that, it was the fact that he, being the smaller back, I didn't project him to do what he did as far as like, oh, he caught the ball out of the backfield, but he had some really decent runs as well. Now, like I said, Marlon Mack has never been a guy that I'm like Marlon Mack, and even like when people were like, oh, Marlon Mack is just so quality, Quentin Nelson is quality. Okay, Quentin Nelson being a guard and having the impact that he did on that Colts offensive line and offense in general, that dude deserves an MVP in himself. And it's crazy. Like nobody talks about that, but I really feel like Quentin Nelson improved that offense in its total, like in its total, like altogether. But looking at guys like Marlon Mack, I think benefited from it, and people start jumping on the Mack train, but he can't stay healthy. And like I said in one of my other videos, if I have to say when he's healthy after his name, then he's not quality in my mind. He's not worth it. He's not worth the damn. And it sounds harsh coming from like just a fan, but it's true though. Like I don't want to say that dude's a really good worker at work, but that's when he's here. And it's like no, like if you're here all the time, then that makes you good. That just makes the part of your greatness all together. So with Marlon Mack, I've never been a fan of Marlon Mack because for one, he seemed very injury prone, and then for two, I just think he benefited from having a quality offense line in front of him. Now Naeem Hines, I think is good. I think he's a change of pace back. I'm not sure if he does what he did this week or did what he did last week this week. And who are the Colts? So we're just gonna go look at week 2 now. So if he does what he did, against the Vikings, okay, we've seen the Vikings probably can be had, right? So if Naeem Hines does what he did last week, this week against the Vikings, that'd be interesting to see. But I like Naeem Hines as a change of pace guy, like Darren Sproles, if you will. But Jonathan Taylor, for me personally, is the guy that I really want to go with. Jonathan Taylor, 100% Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor's just a nice, smooth, big back. He's your Saquon, if you will, and behind a quality offensive line, God, thank you, because I had Saquon on my fantasy, and I felt sorry for that man. I wanted to cry for Saquon Barkley, because it's like no matter how talented you are, right? Like you could be, I mean, God Himself could like took out a vein of like blood out of His own body and put it in your body and gave you any talent you want. Um, but no matter how talented you are, it's really impossible to run the ball when you got your offensive lineman and a defensive lineman in your face as soon as you get the ball in your gut. And that's what was happening to Saquon Barkley on Monday night. So I felt sorry for him. But fantasy wise, I'm going to Jonathan Taylor 100%. I think Jonathan Taylor is just a big, smooth back. Uh, excuse me. Whereas majority of his fantasy points came on a big carry or a big catch on a big screenplay last week. So with that, with him getting those big carries or getting carries as far as running the ball, but then maybe still have a little bit in a screen game, I think he has a little bit more fantasy upside in my personal opinion. Whereas Naeem Hines, I think in a passing game, we see him more there than we will. We might get a delay or two out of him or a draw play, but I'm not sure if Naeem Hines is a guy that you just turn around and say, "Hey, take the ball and do your thing." Jonathan Taylor is a good running back. Like he knows how to read the hole. He knows his vision. He knows where he's going, and he's not one of those guys. He's not one of those guys that's always looking for the home run. He's looking for it, but he's not going to look for the home run to the point where he's going to lose 2 yards or 3 yards. So that's what I like about Jonathan Taylor. I know a lot of people knocked him coming out of Wisconsin, saying that he was just a running back and not a dual threat running back or a guy that can do more things out of the backfield. So personally, I like him. I think he's quality. I think Jonathan Taylor. I'm really high on him. Unfortunately, I didn't get him in my sleeper league because he would have easily been a keeper, or not sleeper, sorry, my keeper league, and he would have easily been a keeper for next year. Just my personal opinion. And I was getting ready to say something about someone else too, and I forgot. And my brain just slipped. So, but yeah, Jonathan Taylor, I definitely would say in that situation. Marlon Mack is done, and with him being out for the year, I think his job is done. I think he's out of Indy altogether. Especially if Jonathan Taylor can go out and showcase his skill set and be really quality consistently week in and week out. That's something that the Colts haven't had in a running back situation for shit. I personally, thinking back to Andrew James, Joseph Adai, I felt like never dominated games. And then they've had some backs in between there when they've been trying to find who their next guy is going to be. Trent Richardson struggled there because they had no offensive line. We had guys like Frank Gore come in and still struggle because they're like not having an offensive line is key. Like I talk about that all the time on my channel. Having an offensive line is so vital, so important. If you don't have one, I don't care who your running back or your quarterback is. Shit don't matter. People are gonna die. People are just gonna get crushed all the time. Other wide receivers to note besides Paris Campbell's Gage, Corey Davis. I'm not buying Corey Davis. I think Corey Davis just tilts the field. But I see your point. Larry Fitz was also out there. Tyquan Smith, that was a guy that I was contemplating on picking up now because of the Mike Thomas situation. Get a couple of good early snaps out of him would be cool. Alan Lazar, I'm definitely high on him. Valles Scantling. I I think because Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback, you feel comfortable going Lazard or Scantling because they still need a guy that can balance the field into Devontae Adams. And Devontae's still the guy there. Saw people give up on Debo. I'm definitely I'm like that close to giving up on Debo, but I know if I can stay competitive throughout the year, keep him on my IR. When he comes back, I think he could be the difference maker as far as my team elevating a little bit more and taking me all the way to the hopefully to the championship. But Larry Fitz, I'm not sure about that one just yet. Um, I think he's gonna Larry Fitz early season, no. Larry Fitz mid to late season, yes. I wouldn't be surprised if they did a thing where they try to save him a little bit more because he's older. We got a guy like D Hop. We got some, Christian Kirk. We got some other young receivers that we can start featuring, and have Larry Fitz kind of fade away. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this was like career low year for him, and just have him fade away into the background. And then when the playoff pushes start, when we really start getting serious and we're right there, we're being competitive. That's when we break out the goat and Larry Fitz and let him go off and do his thing. So that's I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way they would go personally. Uh, Sammy Watkins, I was, was joking with a friend. Sammy Watkins week one last year, dummy off, crazy off. Dude was taking care of business like nobody's business. Like he was going off. And then so you take Sammy Watkins last year, and Sammy crazy. Everybody's like, oh well, clearly number two, go to guy, blah blah blah. And then after that, Sammy Watkins kind of faded to the back. Like, we've seen Tyreek, we've seen Travis, we've seen even Demarcus Robinson, we've seen some McCole Harmon. And Sammy Watkins got a couple of catches here and there just to say, hey, I'm still here. But Sammy in the playoffs and Sammy in week one, yes. Sammy weeks 3 through 14, I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. But I say that as I just traded away McCole Harmon. Like, today I traded away McCole Harmon because he got me like 1.6 points. And that was just like, that's unacceptable. I need help. And so I got rid of McCole Harmon. And and that's the crazy thing. Like, when it comes to smaller receivers or speedsters or guy deep threats, if you will, there's not many guys in the league that I'm like, I need to have him on my roster because I don't feel like a lot of deep threats. I feel like they're kind of almost one trick ponies. Like you're living for the D ball, and then after that, you're done. Over 5 touchdowns in the next couple of weeks. I don't see that. I think McCole Harmon is probably gonna hopefully step back up. If Demarcus Robinson keeps dropping balls like he did on Thursday night, then yeah, definitely it's gonna be a problem. But I think Sammy Watkins is just gonna fade into the background. He's gonna have like a 900-yard season, maybe 5 or 6 touchdowns altogether in his total, and that's it. And people are gonna be like, oh, well, they got Sammy Watkins still. Like we'll have to be reminded that we have Sammy Watkins throughout the season, versus like getting to the playoffs and reminding people that we have Sammy Watkins. So it's gonna be interesting. Touches, not touchdowns. So, uh, did he? Hold on. Did you say touches? Okay, you did say touches. I thought I just glanced over. I thought you said touchdowns. Okay, touches. Yes, my bad. That's on me. That's on me. I just glanced over it. Yeah, I got rid of McCole Harmon in all my leagues too. Uh, yeah, no, I think like is it Will Fuller and must start? Yes. Yeah, until he goes down, yes, because when D Hop was out there, D Hop was a guy that could take away those intermediate throws and there's little sideline throws. You seen Will Fuller catch a little bit more of those on Thursday night. So I would say yes because he doesn't have anyone to contest him for any other routes. And realistically, when that ball's in the air, who were they throwing it to? I seen when I was going through teams and looking at stuff, I seen Brandon Cooks was questionable, and that's another thing about small, speedy, deep guys is that it seems like they're always hurt, and like you're living off the deep ball and you're living off the little like deep post and hopefully you get a touchdown and like shake somebody on a wide receiver screen or something. I don't know. It's too many ifs ands and buts with small guys, but Will Fuller this year, until further notice, and further notice being him being healthy. Like once again, if I have to say Will Fuller's good when he's healthy, they kind of discredited everything I said prior to that. But I think right now you have no much. If you're Houston, you don't have much of a choice, unless Billy O pulls the trade and go get OBJ. And then it's just at that point it'd be comical. I don't think he will because then it's like, well, I had D Hop, now I'm gonna go get OBJ when I could have just kept my D Hop. And so they don't, like I said, they don't have any other receivers that's really going to test for the ball in the air when the ball's in the air. I think their tight ends are probably going to flourish a little bit more this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more tight end play, just for the simple fact they're going to probably try to go to more tight end sets, probably feature more David Johnson. But Will Fuller is definitely going to be the beneficiary if Brandon Cooks go down, because at that point they're just going to be kind of looking for help. And I'm not even sure what the receivers look like behind Cooks. Oh, Kenny Snills. There he is, Kenny Stills. So like, yeah. So I mean, you got Kenny, and I love Kenny, but I don't know if they're going to feature Kenny that much either. And Kenny should be featured. I think Kenny should be your one, and Fuller be your two. Cooks be your three. In my personal opinion, I think Kenny's the go-to guy. Uh, After what we seen week one against the Washington defense, I'm almost tempted to say Goddard, just for the simple fact that Dallas Goddard just seemed like he's a guy that I think he might be taking over here shortly. In another week or two, I wouldn't be surprised if um, Zach Ertz is on the move. Like if everything they said during the telecast during the game about him and Howie Roseman getting into it and being at each other's necks or whatever the case may be, um, they got to resign Zach Ertz. And if you can show that you can win without him, then at that point he makes him expendable. And then you trade him away, get a good two out of it, get a second round pick. He's still a quality tight end. It's not like he's a bad tight end. So you trade him away. So I personally feel like what I seen week one, Goddard is still a viable pick. And then who are they playing week two? So what who are we playing week two at that point? Playing the Rams. He can get off. He can get off on the Rams because the Rams. I personally feel like the Rams have a good quality defense. I mean, it's Aaron Donald and others. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, they got Jalen Ramsey, but let's say, for instance, for sake of argument, Jalen's going to cover who? He's not covering Djax, and if he does, I think Djax is going to take him at least one time. Um, so if you take Jalen Ramsey and put him on Zach Ertz or have him follow Zach Ertz because you spread him out wide, it kind of opens up the field for a guy like that as Dallas Goddard. I like Dallas Goddard for sure, 100% in that situation. But I think moving forward, I think you can still get off with Dallas Goddard just because, like I said, if they can show that they can win without him, they're gonna be perfectly fine the whole entire time. Like they're not gonna worry about it. They're gonna not stress it or anything. They're just gonna run with the guy and keep moving. So I don't know. If I was in your situation and I do need a tight end because I was banking on Chris Herndon to do something, uh, but yeah, Dallas Goddard, and I would take my chances with Dallas Goddard. That's just like saying I took my chances with Tyler Eifert, and I realized he outsnapped everybody else behind him, but he only had one catch. That pissed me the fuck off because I was hoping to see Eifert of old. And don't get me wrong, Gardner Minshew was spreading the ball. He was spreading the love for sure. When you got guys like DJ Chark catching a touchdown, your rookie receiver in Lavisca Chenault, who I kept bringing up. Laviscus is nice. I'm a big Lavisca Chenault fan. That dude is nice. Had him catching a touchdown. The running attack was just there. It made the defense stay honest, and that was the most important thing, if anything. So I was kind of pissed off about the whole Tyler Eifert thing for sure. But Dallas Goddard, I would go with in that situation if I had to pick between the two, just because it seemed like they're kind of fading that way. But Miles Sanders is supposed to be back this week, so it's really going to be interesting as far as what that running attack is going to look like. Zeke had a good day against the Rams on the ground, and I mean obviously caught some really good quality passes in the open because they don't have linebackers and with the Rams and not having linebackers and having a running back like a Zeke or a Miles Sanders or Saquon can really, really put them damper and put it, make it a problem, if you will, if you don't have the right linebackers out there. In my personal opinion, it's gonna be interesting. Another guy that I think people were I don't know down on, I guess you could say, and I start to kind of pick up on him and really start to like. I kind of talked myself into like really want him on every roster was AJ Green. Uh, he should have definitely had a better stat line than he did. He probably would have finished closer to 17, 18 points. If obviously if he finished with 17, 18 points, that means he caught that last touchdown, and that changes the whole dynamic as far as fantasy wise what he is, and it changes the whole dynamic of what the Bengals are going into this week. But AJ Green was definitely a guy, and that's tomorrow's night game, so I'm really really excited for that game. What's crazy is that I projected the Browns defense to be a lot better than they were, and I don't know if it was just Lamar Jackson doing Lamar Jackson things, and that defense is just not up to par. They did have some bodies that I feel like would have been difference makers out. Mac Wilson being one. I feel like Mac Wilson being out for the Browns definitely changed up the game plan, what they could do. Because I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I'm like, there's a handful of guys in the league right now that could be kryptonite, if you will, for Lamar. And Mac Wilson was on that list. Mac Wilson is a guy that can legitimately do so much from the linebacker position. He can run really, really, really well, and he can cover really decently. But I think what he does, since he runs so well and he can hit like a linebacker, he takes it. He's a guy that can automatically be your spy every game when you up against a Lamar. And so you say, hey Mac, you watch number 8, and that's it. And so it kind of takes as a defense coordinator that makes your job easier. If you have a guy that can cover a guy that's going to be that dynamic and that crazy, and not so much take him away, but definitely control him. Because when a guy is quality and highly talented, you're not gonna ever take him away, but you can put him in a box, and that's really what you want to do with guys like Lamar. You just want to put him in a box. Say, hey Lamar, here's a 10 by 10 box. You can run in circles in this box, but that's about it. And if you don't have a guy that can control him like that and put him in the box, then that just becomes all green grass and pastures at that point, and he's just running, he's just frolicking through the, through the land because that's what he would, that's what he did obviously, and you don't know what to do or how to stop him because you're too busy trying to stop his running aspect of his game while still trying to stop his passing. If I know I can stop his running with one player, that gives me 10 other guys to stop his passing. And so that's what I think they missed on Sunday, not having Mac Wilson out there. But with that being said, the Browns defense, they gotta do something this week. And they're going against a rookie quarterback, so it might be enough for them to get their confidence back up. Where you have a guy like Miles Garrett, hopefully he comes out firing. Hopefully their defense comes out firing. But I personally would like to see AJ Green again this week. I'm excited to see him again and watch him in prime time and seeing what he can do. I know a lot of people are excited for Tyler Boyd this year, but if the marriage is real between Joe Burrow and AJ Green, I'm more than ecstatic, more than happy. And he even targeted John Ross on a D ball, and I think that's what is the difference in that game. He missed a couple of good touches. He had some guys running wide open in the defense and the secondary, and he just overshot them. He just missed them. And so that's gonna be interesting too to see what he does this week. Um, can he hit those balls now? Can he really put his guys in stride? Can he really help his guys out? Because that's all you got to do. I mean, I make it sound so simple, but obviously it's not. But that's really what he needs to do. He needs to just kind of catch his guys in stride, catch his guys, giving them an opportunity to run after catch. And if he can do that really well, it's going to open up because it's not that he doesn't have weapons. He has weapons. He's in a perfect offense. I think the offense line may need to be a little bit tweaked. I think I was going through their depth chart. And Billy Price was their number two center, which I did not see coming. So the offensive line definitely needs to be bolstered up a little bit, and that's cool. But skill position wise, nah, you're good. So tomorrow night's game I think it's gonna be better than people are expecting it to be. I think it's gonna be highly competitive and between two teams that have a lot of names on them, and that's what you really want to see. If you're the NFL, this is a good quality. This is another good quality Thursday night game for week two, at least to kick off week two, and then our Sunday night game we kind of touched on a little bit with the Patriots and the Seahawks. That game is going to sell itself as well with having a guy like Russell Wilson being able to do what he's doing, and then having a guy like Cam Newton doing what he's doing. I think if you have those two things going in your favor, it's going to make for a good day. It's going to make. And I think they're in Seattle, so by being in Seattle on on Sunday night, once again, not having the fans on a Sunday night, Jesus, that game would be rocking. They're coming off a fat win on Atlanta. And, if they're open, I think, like I said, I think they're at home. And if they're at home, coming off a fat win against Atlanta, you're at home, 1-0. You got Cam Newton and the Patriots coming to town. We know that history. They got history, right? And so it's like, let's do the damn thing. Let's kill these boys. And so the stadium would have been rocking. That game would have been live on itself without even trying. Definitely watching our MVP candidate quarterback going off. Hopefully Chris Carson bounces back, or Chris Carson has a good game. Our young receiver DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, got Cam Newton on the other side with N'Keal Harry and Julian Edelman and Sony Michelle, Rex Burkhead, and then the stars on defenses for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or not Pittsburgh, the New England Patriots. So it would have definitely it would have been a quality game just to have the fans there. But just looking at what we got as far as the what's on the list, I guess you could say on the menu, I think Patriots versus Seahawks is going to be a quality game in itself without even trying. It doesn't have to try to be a good game. You don't have to sell those games. When a game is like that, you don't have to sell those games. There's nothing to sell there. You just say, I got Russell Wilson for the Seattle Seahawks versus Cam Newton, New England Patriots. It creates its own storyline. It creates its whole dynamic and everything without even trying. If you're the NFL, and the NFL loves those games, you ain't got to promote those games. You just got to put them out there and say, hey, look what we got for you. People are like, oh shit, that looks good. I'm coming to that. I definitely got to watch that. Now we look at the Monday night game. Man, the Monday night, bro. I don't know if these games are going to the biggest bidder or what, but we got the Raiders versus the Saints. That game does not taste good to me. It doesn't. It doesn't scream. I'm gonna watch obviously because I'm just a football addict, but that game doesn't have any substance to me, right? Like we got Drew Brees, right? He coming off a win against Tampa. That's cool. And I think they're opening Vegas, so maybe that's your storyline. That's your selling pitch at that point. Like, hey, we're going to Vegas and we're opening up the what was it, Alliance Stadium? So it's like we're opening up this stadium. Like, hey, come check it out, you know. And so that's your selling pitch at that point. But that's all you got. That sounds boring. It does. It does. It is. It's not. It's not going to be for a Monday night game. It doesn't have that substance. That's what I'm saying. Like, I have to sell you on that game. I have to say, come watch the Saints versus the Raiders. There's nothing there that says I want to see this, and especially if Michael Thomas is out now. So we got Michael Thomas. I think Drew Brees is going to carve that secondary up. Like, and I'm not sure if Derek Carr is ready for that. Derek Carr is a decent quarterback. Drew Brees is up here, and I don't think Derek Carr is. It's one of those games like you don't want to see me in a shootout, boy. Like Drew Brees is looking like you don't want to see me in a shootout. And even if I don't got my best receiver, you don't want to see me in a shootout. I will carve you up. I will take you to church. Like I will take your lunch money, and that's really what it's going to come down to. And there's going to be an opportunity for guys like Taquan Smith, who we brought up earlier in fantasy. Uh, Oh, for sure. Breeze is going to kill them. But it brings up opportunities for guys like Tyquan Smith that we talked about earlier, really having a big day in a big game. Kamara having another good day. Jared Cook having another good day. Emmanuel Sanders having another good day. I'm not sure who the third receiver is. I feel like I know this, but it's not coming to me right now. But so like, it's a chance for Drew Brees to it sounds messed up when I say this, but it's a chance for him to kind of get even more acclimated with his offense in different ways and different aspects. And their offensive line is already quality. And then on the flip side, you got the Raiders. Is like this is, and it's for the Raiders. Like if you're a Raiders fan and you're the Raiders organization in general, this is a good matching point. Like where are we as an organization? Where are we as a football team? This is a good match. Like let's see what we got here. Let's match our talents and see if we can actually hang with the big boys. Because let's be honest, the Saints are at the top of the fucking heap, right? Like the Saints are the best team completely on both sides of the ball. This gives us an opportunity to see what we are as a team. Give us a matchup against the bullies. Like this is like the new kid going up to the bully in school and saying, "Hey, I want to fight you. Just see if I can hang with you." And I don't see them hanging. I don't see them hanging. I would be surprised if the Raiders came out and won this game. I mean, and if they did, then that's good for them. That's some real confidence. That is some real serious confidence at that point. If you're the Raiders and you just went up against the Saints and you opened up your house, which that's what it looks like. So you open up your house and you just went up against the Saints and you killed them. And I'm not gonna say kill them. Shit, if you won by 3 points, then shit, it's 3 points. You still won. We hung with them, regardless of what the final score is. If you won by three, you won by three and you just showed that we hung with them, Drew Brees and the boys. If it was 35-38 and you won that, then yeah, I hung with the Drew Brees and them boys, like in a shootout. I don't care if you had Michael Thomas or not. And at that point I wouldn't put it on not having Michael Thomas. I would just say, yeah, the Raiders are real, but I don't see the Raiders doing that. Like it's just gonna be really hard for the Raiders to actually contest and compete with the Saints on a consistent basis, anyways. Um, and so we're gonna look at another game. Let's look at another game on this week two docket, week two schedule. The Buffalo Miami game. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Um, I think just scrolling through, maybe we make a case for Atlanta versus the Cowboys. That's gonna be a good game. Two teams coming off of L's. That Dak Prescott got to show a lot. Okay, so this is what makes this game interesting, and it's at noon, so that makes it even more exciting. But the excuse me. So we have the Cowboys versus the Saints, and the thing that makes this game interesting though is that we just seen Russell Wilson, who's getting paid at the top portion of the league as far as quarterbacks getting paid, go out and cook the shit out of this fucking Atlanta defense. Cook them. I mean, even though he was dumping some screens and there, he did his work. He cooked. Okay, he read defenses. He took care of business. He made this Atlanta defense look silly, plain and simple. Now we got Dak Prescott, a guy that's betting on himself this year, going up against the same exact team within a week proximity. I don't care. Like if it was like week one and then he had going up against them week eight, then okay, you can make a case to me. But Russell Wilson just cooked them last week. Now you got them. Can you cook them? And so I think looking at that game, if the Saints are the best team, how come they keep falling short within the past 2 years as far as advancing rounds? Because the refs, bro. The refs, the Saints in the postseason in the last three seasons now, they have not done anything to lose the games. I mean, granted, you didn't blow the team out, but we're just talking about names on a roster and positions. They're the most complete roster in the league, hands down. Offensive line wise, defensive line wise, everything hands down. They're literally the most complete roster. The thing is that you get the Nicole Roby push off. What do you think about people who say the Cowboys are a championship team? Okay, I got you on that. Hold on, give me a second. I'm going to talk about these Saints. So you had the Nicole Roby push off. Last year, I think we had the Kyle Rudolph push off, and then we had the fucking Marcus Williams blunder. So like that's 3 years of just like what the fuck? Like, can we catch a break? And so I think Saints just have bad luck, if anything. And I mean, I know bad luck is just kind of pitted on something else and not taking the blame for yourself. I get that, but that Stephon Diggs walk off touchdown, that shit, that hurt differently. Well, let's be honest. That game was in hand. That Stephon Diggs walk off, that hurt differently. The Nicole Roby push off, not the determining factor in the game. I agree with that because they still had to stop him. But the Nicole Roby push off, that was mm, that definitely that knocks some wind out of your chest for sure. It's like falling down the steps and you're sitting there trying to catch your breath. Like I don't care who you are. That made you feel sometimes when it was blatantly obvious. Not only to the stadium, obviously they're at home, so obviously the stadium's gonna say yes, but to one sideline and probably the other sideline, people on the Rams are like, okay, that was a push off, and then everybody that was watching that game on a national level. So you can't tell me that one didn't hurt. And then last year the Kyle Rudolph push off, it was there. It was definitely there. But shit, once again the Saints get fucked. And I don't think they reviewed it. They should have, but they didn't. The Saints have just been fucked the last 3 seasons, and that's just really what it comes down to. I don't want to blame anything else, but that's why they can't advance when you just consistently get fucked. But the Saints is not a team you want to see at the end of the day. I just personally feel that way. So what do you think about people? Oh, and so the Dallas. Back to what I was saying. So basically, looking at the Atlanta Cowboys game, um, this is Dak opportunity to match a guy that's getting paid good money that he wants to get paid more than. So if Dak can come out and actually torch this Falcons defense, I'm like, okay, cool, Dak. I don't know what that says about Dak, and I don't know what it says about the Rams, but this is Dak. I give him this last week to redeem himself, if you will. Are you worth that money? But looking at the Cowboys roster, they got too many flaws, especially in the secondary. I don't see them being a championship roster. If you see, let's say for instance, so in their division alone, you might see Wentz, or you're gonna see Wentz. Wentz probably can touch you. Like he'll take care of you. Oh, excuse me. Wentz is gonna take care of you just in your division. I don't think Daniel Jones or Dwayne Haskins is gonna do anything, but Wentz will easily take care of business against them just because he'll carve up their secondary. And then we have and just in a conference level, and just in general conference level, you got guys like Drew Brees, you got guys like Tom Brady, you got guys like um, I was just about Aaron Rodgers, and so shit, Kyler Murray, the guys that can make that secondary their bitch, if you will. Their front four is nasty and it's nice. What they showed on Sunday night. What they showed on Sunday night was that their front four is going to be something to be reckoned with, especially if Alden Smith just progressively gets better. I feel like he was still out of shape and he was a little bit winded in that game. But if he starts to get his athleticism and his breath and his stamina back, I think he's going to be a really big force to be reckoned with. And so front four wise, Dallas is set. Offensively, we know what they are offensively as far as the offensive line goes. I think they're still tweaking that. Hopefully they fix that because some such shit went down on Sunday night. So they're still tweaking their offensive line, especially losing, I think it was Travis Frederick to retirement. So once they figure out that, which I think it's not going to take that long because they got bodies, they got people out there. Once they figure out their offense line, there's going to be even more interesting as far as what they could possibly do from that aspect. So overall, people that said in Dallas could be a championship team this year, I think it's going to be. They're kind of lunatic-ish, like they're kind of crazy, right? Like playoffs, yes, just because of the new format. The new format, I'm saying everybody making the playoffs because that's what it feels like. But playoffs wise, yes. Once you get into the playoffs and you got to play your conference opponents, there's too many people in their conference that I feel like they can make their secondary their bitch, and it'd be a problem at that point. So I don't see Dallas being competitive beyond maybe the wild card round. And I mean, and every round at that point, they're just gonna be praying and hoping because I don't see it because of the secondary. You can't stop some of the elite passers in your conference, and if you can't do that, you're gonna be forcing them to beat you through the air, and then if they beat you through the air, and then you're gonna like, oh well, now here comes a rushing attack because we gotta commit more people to the passing game, and it's just gonna be too much, I think, for Dallas defensively. But I think the biggest storyline for Dallas this year is what Dak is gonna do and how Dak is gonna look. And even like this week, they got Matt Ryan and Julio and Calvin Ridley, and that Matt Ryan and Julio Calvin Ridley trio is, and TG coming out of the backfield, that's Dallas defense is gonna have their fucking hand. And then Leighton Vander Esch is hurt now. I don't know. I don't see it. I definitely don't see it. And I got a lot of Dallas fans that are subscribe to my channel, and I know they're probably gonna hate me for that, but I don't see it at all with Dallas. Not no championship roster, and not any championship like pedigree or anything at this point. They're a good team, but you just got too many people in your conference alone that can take care of business against you, and I don't like that. So yeah, I don't believe in that at all. In the postseason, Saints cornerback literally missed an easy tackle. That wasn't Braswell. But the other years, I guess you can make an agreement. No, and that's the thing. Like Marcus Williams missing the tackle on Stephon Diggs, the walk-off touchdown. Yeah, that's not on the refs at all, but that's just fucking bad luck. If anything, that's just fucking oh. And then like I said, the other 2 years with the PI. So it's been 3 seasons of just like why the fuck am I a Saints fan? And like, and like you feel bad for the Saints fans because they do have one of the most complete rosters in the league. I mean, from top to bottom, you got corners and Janoris Jenkins. If he's playing like he is, so now you got another corner next to Marshawn Lattimore. You got what was it, Marcus Williams at safety still, which he's not a bad safety. I mean, he made a bad play, but he's not a bad safety. You got Cam Jordan. You got Marcus Davenport when he's out there. Sheldon Rankins, who's a really good underrated defensive line or defensive tackle in the middle of that defense. Offensively, you got one of the best consistent offensive line. I think one of the consistent offensive lines in the league that makes Drew Brees' job a little bit easier. But Drew Brees does it. I think he does a little bit on his own too, make his job a little bit easier. Then you got Drew himself. You got Alvin Kamara with a good change pace back in Latavius Murray. You got one of the best receivers in the league when he's healthy. Okay, I say when he's healthy, and we've learned that if I have to say that, then it discredits everything. Right now he's banged up, so that's why I said that. And he played through injury last year, and so Michael Thomas is one of the best receivers in the league, hands down. We'll just put it that way. I'm not gonna say when he's healthy because that just kind of discredits him. But Michael Thomas is, being one of those guys, and then you bring in Emmanuel Sanders that really tilts the field or balances the field out to kind of help you out. And then Tyquan Smith, if he comes on, and that's probably this is probably why it's a good thing that Michael Thomas is out right now because if Tyquan Smith comes in and shows that he can be a valuable three, then man, we're good. Jared Cook, who's just gonna be a clunky mismatch. Realistically, that's all he is. It's a clunky mismatch, but it works. So I mean, and then you got Sean Payton pulling the trigger. Like, come on, bro. Like, they're probably one of the most complete rosters, both defensively and offensively, in the league right now. It's not fair to a lot of teams in the league. Uh, what's this? Oh, it was a trade in my league, and so um, it's just it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens as far as like the Saints moving forward because like they're not gonna have an easy road by any means. And I will admit, if anything, so the new playoff bracket I do despise in a way because it kind of I think the 7 seed is more what I despise. Not that the 1 seed is the only one with the bye. It's the more or less because we have a 7 seed now. That just like, hey, here's a participation trophy. Thanks for participating in the regular season. You get a playoff spot. And so that's how I feel about the 7 seed. But I get it because there's been years past where teams have been 11-5, 10-6 and missed the playoffs, or 12-4 and missed the playoffs. Like it happens. I get that. But that's not my fault. You win the games you need to win. But so the 7 seed spot kind of that rubs me the wrong way. Now, I will admit what I like about the new playoff bracket is because of the 1 seed is their only bye, so that makes those wins taste a little bit more. Like it makes those games a little bit more intense. Now, what we had last year happened when Miami was playing New England and the Chiefs were playing the Chargers that week, and we needed to win and we need the Patriots to lose.
going into that week, we were just like, it's not going to happen. Like there's no way in hell the Patriots lose to the Dolphins. It's not going to happen. And, oh, excuse me. And Fitzmagic turned it on, and so when Fitzmagic came out and turned it on, it was all hands down. It was downhill from there, and we won our game. They lost, and it made that Week 17 game have a little bit more taste to it. So now it makes me wonder if Week 17 is going to have that little bit more excitement to it because by I've been seeing I would say between Week 15 to Week 17, you kind of got these games that are really laws in there. They're like whatever. It happens. It happens. Teams that are already knocked out of the playoff contention, whatever. So maybe it does one or two things. Maybe it makes Week 15 and 16 more competitive because teams are still fighting for that seventh spot, or it makes Weeks 15 to 17 just like I'm a two, I'm a two seed. I'm gonna be a two seed. I can't go up because the one seed's locked it in, or I can't go down because nobody's doing anything. Like it's just one of those things. So that's one thing I will admit I like about the playoff bracket is that you do get the opportunity to see um, teams be more competitive on the back half of the playoff seating, and that's something maybe that we can buy into, make it look. That's more of the positive side, if you will, to me. But then at the same time, I feel like, oh, well, you participated in the regular season, so you get a playoff spot. Here you go. And so, and it's just I don't know. It just takes that one seed. Now that one seed has that much more value. Like before, it was like, oh, you get one seed, you get a first round bye, home field throughout. All right, cool. Now it's like, no, you're the only first round bye. You still get home field throughout, but you're literally the only person on the bye week this week. You and another team in the respective conference, and so it's like, oh shit, that tastes a little bit different. That hits a little bit different. So that's going to be a good one. That's going to make the season a little bit more interesting. Just because like seeds 5 through 7 now are going to fight differently, and play different. Those teams are going to play different. When you're like, well, mathematically you're not eliminated, and you're sitting there at like what 6-6 or 6-7 and some crazy stuff, 6-8. Like mathematically, you're not eliminated. And it's like, oh shit, all right. Well, these last two games mean something. Let me hunker down and try to get this seventh spot, and I can make the playoffs. And that's the thing. Realistically, once you're in the playoffs, it's no hold bars. Like at that point, it's like it's every man for himself. Do what you got to do, and anybody can win. And eventually, one of these seven seeds are gonna go all the way to the Super Bowl. It's eventually gonna happen, and it's gonna be like, oh, the first time in NFL history a seven seeds made it to the Super Bowl. Eventually, it will happen. Will it be this year? I don't see it being this year because the teams that are going to be seeded between 4 and 1 are going to be too damn good. For like the seed like those, I think division winners this year are going to be real good teams. Like I don't think people are going to walk into the playoffs just like, oh, I accidentally won my division. Look at me at 9-7 winning my division. Like, nah, that's not gonna happen this year. I think division winners this year are gonna be people that actually earned it and won. So teams 1 through 4 seeding is gonna be too damn good for a 7 spot or 17 to come in and take it. But eventually, that 7 spot is gonna win a Super Bowl eventually, and it just won't be this year. It's gonna be interesting when it happens, though, for sure. Uh, Another game I want to talk about. I was sitting there looking at the schedule. Was the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Broncos. That's going to be a good one. The Pittsburgh Steelers actually turned it on really nicely against. There it is, the Giants. Can't have a think about that. Against the Giants and Daniel Jones. That front on that defense was nasty. And it was something that people were projecting to be good already going into the season with guys like Devin Bush, TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, Hayward, Tuitt's there, I think, too. So, and then they got Edmonds in the secondary. Like they got Fitzpatrick. Like that defense is just loaded. I think down the middle of the field, from a corner's perspective, no, but down the middle of the field, yes. Like in that box between the two safeties all the way down to the pass rushers is just loaded with talent, and it has a lot of good bodies in there. So that's gonna make it for an interesting game for the Broncos and a young Drew Lock when you have this defense that really, like, let's be honest, teed off on your boy Daniel Jones. Like they took Daniel Jones as lunch money, and they teed off on him really nicely. And so when you have a defense that's consistently doing that on a high level consistently, it's going to make it for an interesting game just for a guy like Drew Lock and seeing if he can come out and actually put something together as far as like hitting guys. Like I think hopefully Sutton plays this week, so getting your guy Sutton and going, get your guy Noah Fant going again, and then guys like Melvin Gordon. I know Philip Lindsay got banged up, uh, just seeing what this offense is going to look like against the Pittsburgh defense is going to be really good. And then on the flip side, we got the Denver defense where it's just like, are you good or what? Like, what are you, Pittsburgh defense? I think losing Von Miller definitely hurt them. If it, or not Pittsburgh defense, sorry, Broncos defense. Losing Von Miller definitely hurt their defense and what they're going to be able to do from that perspective. And then Big Ben's second week in the league, being back, what is he going to look like? He looked decent, but you can see definitely like he just doesn't have that rhythm or the chemistry down with his receivers. So I'm excited for that game. I think that game has a lot of good storylines to it. I think it has a lot of good, interesting, intriguing things and how it could go. Kind of, I think that Pittsburgh might be on a one of those revenge tours, if you will, with losing Big Ben last year and what they did, or what happened, or lack thereof, with Big Ben being gone last year, and still almost making the playoffs. Big Ben can stay healthy and really put up some points with his offense, him and Juju. It's going to make for a really tough out for anybody who has to go up against them. So I'm excited for that game too. That game has definitely some good storylines, some interesting tactics, if you will, and how it can end. um, I don't know, guys. That seems about it. I mean, Chiefs Chargers. Chiefs are probably going to handily win that. Um, we're going to L.A., not San Diego. We're going to L.A. Chiefs Chargers. That game is going to be interesting. Watch McCole. Somebody told me after trading McCole Harmon today, watch him snap, go off for like 30 points or something. He might. I won't feel bad about it. 30 points in 2 weeks. Like, it's 15 points a week or something. I'm not gonna feel bad about it. I'm not worried about it. Because if McCole does that, I will feel stupid. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I'm just gonna be like, you know what? It is what it is. Like I need more consistency at the wide receiver spot. I can't have these up and down relationship roller coasters. But I see Chiefs handling winning that. Just for all my Chiefs fans out there, and that's not biased. That's just being honest. Tyrod Taylor is not that good of a quarterback. There's a reason why he got ran out of every team that he's been on. In about 3 or 4 weeks, and I even put a video out a while before the season even kicked off that Anthony Lynn is definitely on the hot seat. So I think in a few weeks, Anthony Lynn is probably going to pull the trigger on Tyrod and bring in Justin and just see what happens. Same thing now with Miami situation and Tua Tonga. Um, Fitzpatrick's probably going to get pulled, but Brian Flores isn't on the hot seat. Brian Flores is in the middle of a rebuild. If you're a GM, we talk about this all the time. If you're in the middle of a rebuild, you got to take those downs because there's going to be a lot of downs. And this week, Fitzpatrick has an opportunity to go out and be Fitzmagic. And against the Bills, like he just, and really what Fitzmagic is just a surprising quarterback play out of a guy that you didn't expect it from. And so he has the opportunity to go out and be Fitzmagic, or he has the opportunity to go out and just get banged up and messed up, and they pit Tua in. And I talked to a lot of Miami fans on Twitter too, and they were just saying, yeah, people are ready for Tua, but they don't want to rush the idea. They want him to come in the right way, and I can commend them for that. I understand completely. You don't want to rush him, especially him coming off that hip injury or whatever. We don't want to rush him back. We want him to just ease into it, and eventually you hope that he does it before they're completely eliminated. Not saying that they want to make the playoffs, but at least give us a fighting chance to see what happens. Give us something to play for. So with the Chargers though, Justin Herbert I think eventually is going to be coming in sooner than later because Anthony Lynn is on a hot seat and he has to prove that like I can win. This is a winning football team, and their Chargers defense isn't no slouch neither. But I just think that the Chiefs defense is probably going to show too much for the Chargers offense because Tyrod's just not a guy that can really take over games. He's like I said, he's been ran out on every team he's been on. The Bills. Then he got ran out with the. I just had the. I just had the name in my head. Browns. There it is. In the Browns. And so like now he's with the Chargers, and then he got the job by years in the league. Realistically, like if Herbert had like 2 or 3 years under his belt, he probably would have got the starting position. Honestly, so I don't know. It's gonna be another good, interesting week. The primetime games we talked about. I'm excited for all the primetime games this year, except for one, and that's the Monday, or this week, except for one, and that's the Monday night game. I don't think the Monday game is that appetizing. Thursday night's gonna be quality. Sunday night's gonna definitely be good. That sells itself. We're playing a late window, which is cool too. I'm good. I'm good with the Chiefs playing in a late window because we're just that good of a team. And we're probably gonna be playing more 3 o'clock games. It's gonna be crazy. Nah, we're not gonna play. We're just playing the Chargers in LA. That's why we're playing 3 o'clock spot. Uh, so I don't know. It's gonna be good. And then you got the Texans versus the Ravens. So we're looking at the 3 o'clock games are going to be up to par with the Washington versus the Washington football team versus the Cardinals, Ravens versus the Texans, Chiefs versus the Chargers. Like those are 3 late window games that all those networks can easily push and sell without even trying. It's gonna be worth a watch for sure. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited for football, like I always am. Um, I appreciate you guys stopping by. I was talking some fantasy. It's I don't know. I'm sitting here looking at the schedule. We're at the Lions versus the Packers. That finish with the Lions is that was wild. That was wild. So that's gonna be good too. So we got a lot of good games on this schedule. Looking for week 2. I mean, I'm just sitting here looking at it. Tennessee versus the Jaguars. That can go either way. Uh, I think if you're a horror movie fan, watch that Niners versus the Jets because that's gonna be watching a horror movie right there. The Niners just came off of a loss to Kyler Murray, and Daniel Jones, or not Daniel Jones, but Sam Darnold does not have mobility like Kyler Murray does. It's gonna be a massacre. If you want to see a horror show, Niners versus Jets, I think it's gonna be a massacre. I think people are projecting that to be if that was a primetime game, I would probably cry because it was like that. The Niners are probably gonna come out, slap some people around, take some lunch money. Sam Darnold's probably gonna get his lunch money taken this week. That's just what it is. Hopefully Adam Gase gets his lunch money taken in his job because that man doesn't deserve to coach anymore. Bears versus Giants, that's gonna be another scary one too. Um, we got Panthers versus Bucks. I was more excited for that game at one point. Now I'm just looking like I don't know what to expect from that Panthers Bucks game. That game is just not going to be up to par. I am not excited for that game by any means at all. Like that game has no to me. Miami versus Bills. That could be a massacre. And this is the thing about Fitzmagic. That can be a massacre, or that can go the other way, where Fitzmagic shows up and he's like, beat Buffalo randomly, and just it's crazy. Vikings versus Colts. That can be a good game. Just because we've seen the Vikings still struggling defensively. Philip Rivers is probably still trying to find his legs, and this might be the perfect game for him to find his legs in, where he goes out and he really takes advantage of that Viking secondary. So this might be the perfect game for Philip Rivers really start to get his groove going after last week. So yeah, it's gonna be good. And then, like I said, the 3 late window games are gonna be quality too. Those are perfect late window games right there, where each game is gonna probably keep you going all the way up into Sunday night. Oh, excuse me, which has another good game. So I don't know. I'm excited. If you guys have any other fantasy questions, definitely comment on this video. I see them. We can either touch on them or hit me up on Twitter. We can talk about them there as well. I appreciate you guys stopping by. I appreciate you guys chatting with me. I appreciate the questions in the chat. We do this every Wednesday. Today I was late, unfortunately. My nap ran a little bit long, unfortunately. I was kind of mad about that. I woke up like at 5:12, and I was not prepared yet. Uh, so yeah, nap ran a little bit long today, but that won't happen all the time, just some of the time. But every Wednesday at 5:30, we're gonna review the upcoming week, and we're gonna review the past week and preview the upcoming week, and then in between any fantasy questions you guys might have or any questions in general, it's just us chit chatting and talking some football. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking football, and this is something I want to consistently do every Wednesday. So if you're new, definitely hit that subscribe button. If you like this, definitely hit that like button. And if you just want to be a footballologist and hang out and talk football, this is the place to be. Like this is literally the only place to be. This is what we do. We talk football. We have a good time. We laugh, make some jokes, and move on with our lives. I guess you could say. But that's all I have for you guys this week. I really hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a footballologist yet, you're gonna subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay safe.